then address these opportunities that come with the metaverse. Thank you.
Thank you, Silva. If we have time, we'll come back and ask you about your experience in Parliament and outdated legislation, but I will save that one. Johan, just to sort of try and close out the protection and regulation
just a quick
issue.
word before to start about EI and emergency. We just have to not forget that construction project is human people that is doing the project. At the end, if you not have a carpenter or a welder, the project will not fly. You can have the best EI or the best robotics that you want. At the end, it's still human. So you have also to see that it is a human aspect. Okay, so for sure, EI will help. For example, to de-risk a project, to see if you have two same project, to see what was the issue on one project, to help the second one to implement. But even if EI will help us to trigger some issues that we have on the first project, perhaps it's not the same team. So again, it's not the same people and the same management. It's going to the project and have other issues that the first one do not have. So EI is a facilitator to help the project, but it will not replace us, the human, because you are the one that is doing the job. And this is an important part to keep in mind, that even if the technology today is going very fast, it will not replace the one, and we have to train the people at all the level. Because the most important is the people that we have and to train them to reach all of what we have. So on EI, on BIM, can be on project management, it can be on risk management, but it is a whole part to construct and to be supported by the digitalization. It's not the opposite. So that's why, for me, the point that I want to, and about the drones that we was discussing, can be very helpful. But I will give you some example on my former company. We was developing an iDrone to make survey about very deep offshore project pipeline. It was oil pipeline, but just to make it regularly instead of to make it every years. It was an iDrone directly, even on a seabed, and is still on the seabed since 2 years, and is operating since 2 years. So the point is, the technology can really help us to maintain and to continue to have new projects, but we have to take care about us and the people, to train the people and to change their work and their activities. So it is a must point to share.
Okay, thanks, Johan. John, I'm going to come back to you. It's going to move forward towards how construction law can assist to enhance the skills and competencies of construction professionals and stakeholders in the African construction sector. You have experience in contract negotiation, structure and delivery. How can these structures be adapted so that they enable the opportunities posed by innovation and digitalization rather than having the effect of restricting?
Thanks, Stephen. So I think there's some key elements to that. And the first, I think, is it's back to realizing how AI is about to sort of be introduced into all of our daily lives. So I'm beginning to see Copilot on my computer, and I think we're all going to have experiences where we're about to sort of see AI sort of trickling in a nice, gentle, unthreatening kind of way in which it can kind of help us. And the reason that's part of the question is people have got to realize what the possibilities of AI are, because as it develops, there's going to be a change in all of our mindsets. As we begin to see what AI can do, we're all going to begin to expect more of it and be more interested in what it can possibly do. So in construction law, you're going to see the platforms, the standard platforms, whether it's Microsoft or whatever, where everybody's going to have on their computers, and you're going to have and you're also going to have large platforms for people like, I don't know, Accenture, EY are spending billions as consultancy organizations in setting up their own AI-type platforms. And then we're also going to see a multiplicity of platforms within the construction space. So there's going to be lots of layers to how AI is going to be introduced to us. So getting our heads around those layers and working as enablers as to how we're going to manage them is going to take some training. So there's going to be a very, very large training piece in making sure that everybody, including definitely myself, is up to speed in what AI is potentially going to do and what it is going to be able to achieve. Because we are we are already with BIM, but we are much more so with AI, about to be in a position where, as I say, we're going to have a superpower. As I say, I spend much of my life, a large part of it over here, dealing with drafting the contracts. And in drafting the contracts, we're always going, what if this happened? What if that happened? Who's going to bear the risk? What if that's going to emerge? Where's that going to lend us up? And we're arguing about how contractually we allocate risk in the contract. And we're arguing it in many ways in the context of force majeure is a good example. There's going to be an earthquake. There's going to be something completely unknown. And who's going to bear the risk of that? Well, actually, force majeure and earthquakes will probably still be there. But most of the risks we're dealing with in the contract, most of the time and money risks, are really arguments about behaviors, are arguments about we should have done something, party X should have done something, and they failed to do that. They are therefore going to bear the consequences of that failure, leading to extra money, basically, extra cost in the contract. Well, with AI, above all, we're going to have the power to see the problems coming down the line much, much more quickly than we have had to date. So it should be a great tool to limit the circumstances in which we're ever going to need to call upon the risk allocation in the contract. Again, that's going to come down enormously to education. But I think the real question for me, perhaps, is, are we going to be sitting here in 10 years? Are we going to be sitting up here in 10 years talking about FIDIC Yellow Book? Or is the whole thing going to have moved us substantially on? And it seems to me that as we develop in our AI mindset, as we develop in what AI can do and what it can contribute, the closest enabler in our breadth of construction contracts that we have to date is all of the thoughts that we have in relation to collaborative regimes, in relation to collaborative contracting, ultimately in relation to alliancing. And many people take those with a great pinch of salt because they think, well, the problem's going to still be the same at the end if somebody fails to do something. But actually, the more you begin to look and get your heads around collaborative contracts in which risks are aligned, in which rewards are aligned, the more you can begin to see that if AI's got a contribution to make in relation to any of our existing contract structures, it has got perhaps a special contribution to make in structures where contractually they are set up to collaborate. Now, that could, of course, be a whole talk on itself, but essentially a collaborative contract is where the employer is taking, frankly, a bit more risk than it would have to expect to take, and all of the other stakeholders are perhaps in an uncomfortable zone at the outset, but the contract and the powers of the IT now behind it are going to be in a position where we will describe what it looks like to work together. We will just be better able to describe what the incentives will look like if we succeed in working together, and what the downside is going to look like if we fail to work together. And we will much, much more quickly be able to establish how any issues have happened due to the power of the various different AI enablers that are going to be around us. That's my little glimpse of the future.
Thanks, John. Yeah, it's interesting whether AI is going to do a better job at collaboration than humans do. If, well, Sylvia mentioned machine learning earlier. Hopefully the machines learn better than humans do, because we talk about the same problems for years and years, and we don't seem to be able to get through them properly.
I'm just going to say, though, it's the humans now with the power, with this great transparency. It's going to be harder to hide, I think.
Sure. Sylvia, let me bring you in on the theme of enhancing skills and competencies through construction law.
Yes, thank you once again. I think John has touched on a bit of professional development. There's training that is constantly required, as always. What we call CPDs, continuous professional development, to keep up the skills and the knowledge up to date, and to become more creative even in the use of all these emerging technologies and innovations. I want to bring in the angle of the role the government can play. And this is why the laws are important. When we talk about laws that support innovation, technology, digitalization, it's important that governments are seized of it. And the best way to have a government be seized of it is by law, because then they are the implementers of the law, and they then allow budgets to be put into place in national budgets. Like I mentioned before, you find there are countries that are so way ahead. There are countries that are talking about laws for the metaverse. We are still talking about laws here just to govern drones, the use of drones and things like that. So laws then become very, very, very critical. And laws will help with the skills and competencies, because then there are budgets that are given for research and development to encourage citizenry, to go out there, and they support these research and development either through the universities or other institutions, and that's really, really important. Governments can also help with, trainings and apprenticeships through associations, like professional associations. For us here, we have the Architectural Association of Kenya, or the Engineers Board of Kenya, and our Board of Registration for Architects and Quantity Surveyors. Governments can use these, avenues through funding and promoting, through conferences and other training mechanisms to encourage citizens, to be up to date with what is out there and what technology has to offer. It is important to consider incorporating innovation and digitalization as part of requirements for licensure. For me to practice, I must have certain qualifications. That's what I mean. So the same way I'll go and get my practicing certificate for architects, that maybe should be expanded to include your knowledge base should also cover certain technological milestones, because then we want to encourage practitioners really to be up to date. So that becomes a very critical part of this. And added to the fact that then requirements for recertification, so that we are kept abreast. And because, we are a bit behind in the continent, it's important that as we are encouraging each other, as we are working together towards more incorporation of technology and innovation, it's important we encourage each other through, regular, even periodic recertification of where your competencies and capacities are in as far as technology use and incorporation is concerned. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sylvia. I'm just looking at the clock, and I want to leave some time for questions. So can I go to Johan, and then I'll come to you, Kevin, because when we're talking about contractual mechanisms that can assist with enhancing skills and competencies, obviously Sylvia's covered a few issues in terms of licensing and certification of professionals, but at a project level, how does this work? Does it work? Have you seen a contract that dictates?
Yes, it works. Yes, it works. The point on projects, mainly we are making, for example, contract management explanation to all the people of the project. So in fact, it is also, so you have one level about the community, as said by Sylvia, that will help the various people to understand the issue, but also at project level, you have to be an impression for the project to train his own people. So when you have someone that is on board, to explain to him what is the contract, what he has to do, how to manage it. And this is important to have both. So it can be digitalization, but to take the one and to bring him with the knowledge about all the people that are on the project since many weeks, years, months, it depends on the project, is very important. So you have to be a first part, an external one with states, law, university to train the people and to certify them. And after there is a project view where we need to, at the project level, to train the people on the particularity of the project. Because each project is different, so it's very important that on this side, all the project management and the team is taking care about his own team, his overall team, because the project is not only the project manager, it's from the project manager to all the people on board. So you have to explain to each one how we can play a big role on the project for contract, for quantity surveyor, for all these kind of things. So and the digitalization tools can be helpful to show to the people what will be the project at the end and what you have to take care of. And also about this one, we can use the digitalization and the tools to start from the build management up to the end of the decommissioning, and to have all the phases of the project, and to see and to train from all the people, because the people that build the project and make the investment is not the same that they will operate the project, and it's not the same that they will decommission the project, because at the end, it is various steps and various phases of the contract. And as I said before about our previous panel, green transition will help also to decommission, because at the end, we have to remove what we have built. I think it was a major part that I want to add, Steve, if you want to, Stephen, if you want to have some point.
Yeah, thanks, Johan. I don't think there's too much more to add to that, just apart from the importance of professional bodies in their involvement and communities of practice, which are well established in the region. We've seen some amazing work from BIM Africa, and I'm really looking forward to seeing their updated report in 2024. They do report that there are barriers to adoption of BIM in the region, but they're the same as everywhere else. There needs to be a commitment from the employer to invest at an early stage, to ensure that the skill set is available in the workforce, and that can only be done through professional bodies and communities of practice.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm going to, just before we go out to the floor for questions, I think the final point I would want to make is that hopefully we can see contractual mechanisms that are a bit more transparent in terms of promoting the use of digital technology and who pays for it. You know, often there's a lack of a level playing field when you've got you know, international contractors who have got a lot of money to throw at this versus maybe the more local or regional contractors in Africa context. And I think one of the ways that we can address that is to have specific requirements in the pricing of the contract that make it very clear how much the ultimate client is paying for that enhancement within the contract, within the project. Maybe level out the playing field a little bit. Can we go to the floor then? Do we have any? I know it's nearly lunchtime. I don't want to keep anyone from their plates, but I think we've still got a few minutes. I think Nick, if this is a difficult question.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Really thought-provoking panel discussion. I was at the ICC arbitration event last week, and a really interesting comment was made about AI and ChatGPT in particular being rolled out at the same time everywhere globally, and that included Africa. And I just wanted to ask, what would be, how could African nations harness this ChatGPT and other AI programs, and what would be some of the pitfalls for this as well?
Silva, do you want to? He was just asking about how, particularly in the Africa context, that ChatGPT and some of the AI, what the positives.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, you're a blockchain expert, so. You know.
Yeah, well, like everywhere around the world, there are the positives and the negatives that come with, programs like ChatGPT and other AI. And it's really imperative, a lot of care is required in how you're adopting them, even as they evolve, right? I am a user of the AIs. In fact, I discovered the other day I can have a personal assistant called Monica, who understands my needs and requirements and can guide my research work. And the word here is guide, because you can't really rely on the information, but you can use it as a tool. And I think when we are discussing about our capacities, improving our capacities here in Africa, those are some of the issues. To understand, like I think John had said, or somebody else had said, you cannot replace the human with the AI. But the AI is there to support and create efficiency. And we have to be careful on how we adopt these users. So hence the importance of training and building our capacities in understanding these AI programs and how to use them, do a lot of research and understand what are their capabilities and where do you draw the line so that then, if you're doing research, you know, I think in our arbitration circles, and I can see my chairman of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, we have discussed on, you know, you can fall into a lot of problems. You know, the arbitrators who have used GPT to generate an award, and that can be very embarrassing. So you have to know where to apply these AI. So I think it's a global conversation, really. Thank you.
John, yeah.
I agree. We need to be aware that it hallucinates, don't we? And there have been some terrible examples already in the law of lawyers that have relied on case law that through ChatGPT that's emerged as hallucinations. But the answer to what I wanted to say as an answer to your question is, in the stuff I do, particularly at project development stage, we always hit a massive problem, which is that nobody has any money. And just the visibility of being able to sort of ask a computer to do a contract, and they're not terrible. They're genuinely not terrible. I'm not saying you necessarily want to sign it, but you're probably going to save quite a few hours in taking a blank sheet of paper and going, if you want a short letter, a short contract. As I would just stress, though, as long as everybody around the table or around in the project is aware of what you're doing, I would not encourage people to do it and sort of foist it on the other side without saying, this is what I've done. But I did this to save money. Look what it's produced. I'm afraid to say it's often surprising how good it is, but it then gets you. It begins to get you down the line that you'd otherwise have had to pay for.
Thanks, John. I think we have time for one more question. Mr. Moderator is looking at me, smiling, nodding. Anyone? Oh, sorry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simon. I'm from Nairobi.
She's asking.
Okay, my name is Simon. I'm from Nairobi, and seeing that we have an honorable member of the Senate here, I'm going to ask about law and what Kenya is doing. We know the law is lagging behind on AI development, so it seems to be catching up. So what's Kenya doing? We know there is a bill, so we just wanted to know how far it's gone and what's happening and what we can expect from the Kenyan Parliament.
Thank you, Simon. But I need to clarify that I am no longer in Parliament. I served in the previous Parliament, 2017 to 2022. So I'm not quite sure really what is happening at the moment.
Okay, probably I should have clarified that, but what can you expect and what's going on? Do you have any idea what has happened?
What I know about laws and lawmaking in Parliament is that there's a lot of lobbying that is required, and there has to be people who are interested in it to make sure it's moving within the chains of, within the framework of Parliament. So if you don't have champions from the outside and also within Parliament pushing, then things tend to go, very slowly. I know we've made some good strides. We have cybersecurity laws now that have, that were enforced probably in the last Parliament. Currently, I'm not sure what is currently going on in terms of innovation and digitalization. I'm not fully aware, but I can tell you that still we lag behind in the sense that there's a lot of lobby work that needs to be done from outside and from inside. And you have to have people who are ready to do that fight of the lobbying to make these laws come to life. Yes, thank you.
Simon, you've been nominated as a champion, so go and see your member of parliament or your senator.
I'm not sure that's a job I really want.
I think we've been asked to close now. Lunch is ready. Can I just ask the audience to join me in thanking the panel, architect Sylvia Kasanga, Johan Germain Vuve, Director FTI Consulting, John Woolley, partner, Pinsent Masons, London. And Kevin McIver, director, JSL, London. Can I thank myself as well? Is that allowed? Thank you very much for listening and enjoy your lunch.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's appreciate the entire panel as a whole. Panel, before you retire, I would ask you to stay on stage so that we can appreciate you with a token and at the same time have a photo taken. Allow me to call upon Director, oh, she's here already, great, to come and give you our token of appreciation for each and every single one of you. We're having Director Sakai Nyambo. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand for Director Sakai. Maybe because this is also going to be our lunch, and I also do want each of us to appreciate each other, and the panel will get the benefit of this. Why don't we do a 5 factorial club? I'm assuming we're all mathematicians to a degree. So 5 factorial, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. 5 factorial. Yeah? Who only gets the 1? No, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let's do a 5 factorial. Okay, let's do it. Hands together, hands together. All right, let's drop it. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Now allow me to call each one of you, Director, if you could encourage you to go to the center. The gifts will be brought to you. The first person that we're giving an award to today is none other than Kevin McIver. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand for Kevin. Following Kevin is Johan Germain Vu. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand for Johan. Great. Following Johan is John Woolley. John Woolley, please come. Let's appreciate him as he comes. And of course, following him is Senator Architect Sylvia Kasanga. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand for Senator. Of course, you cannot. Oh, why? Just go to the other side. I'll make sure she gets it. And last but certainly not least is our panel moderator, Mr. Stephen Osuhor. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand for him. It's like a wedding. Panel, I'd like to encourage you to take your seats as you also receive your lunch cards. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand for the panel as they retire back to their seats. And thank you for those very insightful conversations. Truly, AI is here to stay. And I do like the question that was asked, what happens when AI meets a contract? And it is something that we have to contend with. Even back where I work, we actually have embraced AI already. It makes our processes so much simpler. But what does that mean for the construction world, and what does that mean for us as lawyers? I think given that innovation is a constant in life, we have to accept it. And so we see how we can do better with it. However, as Senator very aptly put it, what laws are we passing, and are they future forward? Are they future looking, such as coming up with laws for the metaverse? And I like that that's the direction that we have been encouraged to think through. Once more, I don't stand in between you and your lunch. I believe all of you already have your meal cards. Please, all of you exit, go have your lunch. Let's meet back 1:45 so that we can have our other panel, which is going to be very invigorating on matters of governance and ethics. Ladies and gentlemen, please go for your lunch. See you back here at 1:45 sharp. I have been informed that if you don't have your meal card, you can pick it up at the reception. But please, in the interest of time, please let's take our conversations downstairs so that we can come back quickly and continue on with the program of the day. Thank you.